So there's not going to be any, there's no intro video today because I just need to get this thing started. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. Just because I'm running late, I didn't want to spend too much time on that. Very, very weird event last night during Monday Night Football that I'm going to talk about briefly. Not going to put a lot into it other than give you like the latest updates and then my normal news show, right? But there's a lot of speculation going on that I'm going to... Am I going to avoid it? Not 100%, but I'm also not going to put any great emphasis on what the speculations are. We'll talk about them and then move on. But that and I guess there's other stuff in the news. I'm after watching what happened last night. I didn't see it last night. I heard people talking about it last night, and I was like, it's disturbing, and it's something that's been happening to a lot of different athletes around the world. We're seeing many. Oh, is the music too loud? Sorry, guys. I'll turn it down. Thank you. So anyway, that's it. That's what the show's going to be about today, and then we'll do our normal news stuff. So buckle up and enjoy the ride. And it's going to be one of those days. So, Johnny, play the intro. Shut that one off first, Jeb. Okay. Play the intro.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from the Lucky Dog studio in a hidden location somewhere in the upper Midwest of the United States of America, it's a brother making his own way, but with all the wrong opinions. Welcome to the Morning Night Live with your host, the one and only P-Dog Knight.
Yeah, that's me. I just realized it's kind of funny that hearing my daughter say a brother make his own way. I never just thought of that. Anyway, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Night Live. I'm your host, Marty, also known as P-Dog Knight on the internet. And welcome back to the P-Dog Knight channel. It is the, what is it, Tuesday? I don't know what day it is. No, it's Wednesday. It's Wednesday. Oh, it's hump day. Is it hump day? Or is today Tuesday? What the hell day is it? Today is Tuesday? I don't know. I don't even know. I'm pretty sure it's Tuesday. Yeah, it's Tuesday, the 3rd of January, 2023. I haven't made the year mistake yet. And welcome back to the P-Dog Knight channel. My days are melding together. Just FYI, update on Lady Boomer. She's doing a little better. She actually ate some pasta last night, even though she had to kind of mush it up and make it really soft. But anyway, she's doing okay. And I'm taking good care of her. So for those of you who recognize her, that she appreciates, I've told her all the good wishes that everyone's been sending, and she greatly appreciates it. So just wanted to let y'all know that. Real quick, a couple thank yous, I think. Yes. Thank you, Jimmy Das Hotep, Renee Mayette, and Banks. I'm not even sure who Banks is. Is that someone new on Twitter? But they follow me. Well, thanks for retweeting the show. I appreciate. Oh, I know who that is. Anyway, so I'm gonna get into this Buffalo thing, and I know people have different opinions about it, and a lot of people speculating about it. What's fascinating is people ruling things out or not allowing for other things to be are just all speculation, because until doctors tell us what happened and there's more information, it's just everyone's speculating. But we'll get to that after we talk about, or after I say hello. I want to say hello to everybody, because that's kind of what I do here. So over on Rumble, first in the chat today is Advocatus Diabli, who gets the bell. Thank you for dropping in. Also, good morning, Simon Wolfwood, Jimmy Das Hotep, and Mike Savage Blarg. On the YouTube side, so first is Advocatus Diabli, who is getting double bell duty. Also, good morning, Tyrannus Alexandrius, Tremerlich, Tyre Alexander, Jimmy Das Hotep, Rotten Corpse, Mike, welcome back. Yes, pray for Damar Hamlin, absolutely. Cool Frog, Uncle Bad Touch. Oh my gosh, what the hell?
Oh, man.
We know who you really are. I haven't got to make that joke for a long time. This steering wheel is stuck in me crotch is driving me nuts. Okay, what? I don't know what that means. Anyway, also good morning, HP Lovecraft. Sheograss in the house. Jim Beam. Kay is here. Good morning, my dear. Good morning, DI Freighter Watcher, Rick Ashbringer. Chicago Mike's in the house. Also, hello to, who else am I missing? I got to scroll down a little bit. Is that it? Gulf City DCC 182, a.k.a. Blink. That's your nickname. And because we always make the Blink 182 joke. So anyway, here, get one of these. There. Yeah. So anyway, so as you may know, last night during Monday Night Football, Damar Hamlin, after making a tackle, collapsed on the field. NFL Week 17 Monday Night Football game was quickly suspended after Buffalo Bills defensive back Damar Hamlin suffered a serious injury during the first quarter, an injury so bad it necessitated CPR. The game between the Buffalo Bills and Cincinnati Bengals was immediately suspended after Hamlin was hit hard, then stood up and suddenly collapsed where he stood. 24-year-old Hamlin was taken off the field in a stretcher, rushed to the hospital around 9:25 p.m. Eastern Time. An earlier report by Fox Sports reporter Joe Danneman claimed that Hamlin had a pulse but was not breathing on his own immediately after the collapse. And then Fox reporter Tricia Mackey added that the player is now listed in critical condition. Both teams took to the field to kneel in support of the injured player. In fact, here's the ESPN report here. Good morning, Aaron Meredith, by the way. Bills safety Damar Hamlin was taken off the field in an ambulance after receiving treatment for over 10 minutes. CPR was administered to Hamlin after he collapsed early in the game. He appeared to be receiving oxygen as he was placed in the ambulance. The Bengals also sent out a tweet sending their thoughts and prayers to Hamlin. And Hamlin was a 2021 NFL sixth-round draft pick out of Pittsburgh. He quickly became a starter for the team. And then let's see, there's another, what's the other one? Is this it? No, it's the one over here. I had some other articles on it, but I must have closed the link. So a lot of people are talking about Damar Hamlin, and we have seen many athletes. By the way, Tyler F., thanks for tweeting out the show. We've seen a whole bunch of athletes around the world suddenly collapse on the field. Now, this particular incident happened after Hamlin made a tackle, and I had these queued up. I mean, it wasn't. As I watched the tackle. And a lot of people are saying, okay, for example, if you're familiar with Ed and Brian Krasenstein, because a lot of people are speculating this has something to do with COVID shots and all the stuff that's going on with the people doing the shots. A lot of people are saying it has to do with the hit. In fact, a lot of people are poo-pooing the idea that it has anything to do with vaccines, as Mike did in the chat. By the way, Mike, welcome back, by the way. Did I say hi to Mike? I don't even know. Did I say hi to Mike? Did I miss him? It was cardiac arrest, not COVID-related HP. Whatever. Okay. You're talking to HP Lovecraft. I guess there's been a rash of cardiac arrests, Mike. Now, there's no denying that. It's been happening to athletes, it's been happening to regular people, sudden death syndrome all of a sudden, we've been talking about that. But I'm not ready to speculate on anything on this. In fact, it's really funny because a lot of people are talking about the idea that this is related to the vaccines because everyone on the Bills 100% vaccinated, right? And there have been a lot of young men dropping like flies due to cardiac arrest. That is, it is a completely unusual phenomenon, is unique to this time and space, right? So, so I got this, for example, here's someone also taking Mike's sentiment almost. Now, this is fascinating because if you're familiar with Ed and Brian Krasenstein, Trump trolls extraordinaires until they got kicked off of Twitter, but Elon Musk restored their accounts when he came on. These are anti-Trump guys, right? And they tweeted this out, and this is fascinating to me. So they say almost every cardiologist believes that Buffalo Bills player Damar Hamlin suffered from commotio cordis. This happens when blood trauma to the chest takes place. If you're pushing conspiracy theories about his cardiac arrest, you should be ashamed of yourself. This is a lie. I think they meant this is a lie. I don't know what they meant there. Here's my issue with this statement, though. The words almost every cardiologist believes. Okay, this is Ed and Brian speculating themselves, because I don't think we've heard from every cardiologist. In fact, I don't think we've heard from very many cardiologists. We've certainly probably heard from a few people that have, make their appearances on TV and whatnot. But there was an interesting thing that happened last night, because I went into a Twitter space, and actually I think one of the Bills doctors jumped into a Twitter space, and they were saying that what was wild about this particular event, one, it took them a while to determine whether or not they were going to stop the game, and that wasn't necessarily because they hadn't thought about it. They were in negotiations. They're talking about stopping the game right then and there, right? But there's people saying, oh, Roger Goodell was considering, restarting the game after 5 minutes. That particular rumor is incorrect. What happened was when he was taken out of the field, the referees, based on normal protocol, said that they were going to restart. They would wait 5 minutes to restart the game. But in the offices, say, of the NFL and the two teams, they hadn't decided whether or not they were going to stop the game, and then they decided to stop the game, right? Here, I don't need this on here anymore. I'll come back to this. And then eventually both teams decided we're not going to continue, because they were worried about the player, which is commendable for both teams. I mean, there's obviously far more things important than a football game, even if it's whatever I don't even know when they're going to continue the game. Who knows? But I think they made the right decision to stop the game. The NFL wanted them to play. Players and coaches said no. It wasn't a Bills doctor. Branch Covidians went full Jonestown. No, stop it. Anyway, so another thing, though, that happened is apparently the White House was in contact with Roger Goodell during this negotiation. And this was just people in the know. And also, for whatever reason, there were people apparently from, who knows where they're from, but there were some of those black Suburbans that show up. This is, now granted, I cannot confirm this rumor, but there was a bunch of black Suburbans that showed up at the stadium because the White House was very concerned with what was going on here. And I don't know if it has to do with the fact that we were watching athletes around the world drop like flies, not like flies, but we've seen several of these incidents in other sports. And so it was just, obviously they may want to get out ahead of the rumor mongering, I guess, the speculation that is rampant on the internet and things like that. Full game to end, sudden death overtime before the end of the first quarter. Okay, stop it. Oh, Lord. That sounds fake about the White House. Yeah, I don't know. This was something happened to pop into a Twitter space last night, and you don't know who is actually in any official capacity of anything. So anyway, but I thought to myself after reading this Ed and Brian Krastein's tweet, I had a couple questions. First of all, they said almost every cardiologist believes, quote, ... And I thought, well, what's your sample size of, quote, almost every cardiologist? How many of you surveyed and how many have given medical opinions after examining Mr. Hamlin? Because, most cardiologists aren't going to give an opinion until that without examining a body. And then, Hamlin's still alive, by the way. He's in critical condition. And which ones have you heard from that may have a different opinion? In other words, you, like many others, are speculating. Yes, there's tons and tons of speculation about this. So I'm going to go into, let's just go to Twitter and I'll give you an example of what people are saying. Good morning, I said good morning, Aaron Meredith. They can't stop a terrorist on the FBI watch list, but are on the spot for a football injury. Well, I'm not 100% positive that that's even true. But by the way, if you're not sure what's it called? Commotio cordis, okay? Commotio cordis is an extremely rare phenomenon. Usually it happens in fact, we've never heard of it happening in a football game because of the protective equipment, but we've heard of it in baseball, softball, someone down here. In fact, here it is. Commotio cordis is very rare, about 30 cases per year, almost always afflicting male athletes ages 8 to 18 in baseball, lacrosse, hockey, and softball. First aid is AED or CPR. Football players have protective equipment that makes commotio cordis nearly impossible on a mature male. So this is a late 20-year, what's it? Is he only about 24, 25? This would be a first if it was somebody this age and in this sport. Generally, what happens is a player between, and again, it's been happening to male athletes between age 8 and 18, when they get, like, for example, a line drive right to the chest in baseball, or a lacrosse ball hitting him in the chest, or a hockey puck hitting him in the chest. Now, it's interesting, though, because it has happened in hockey, and hockey also has protective equipment to helps prevent injuries like that. But it's usually always in young men, where this is a professional athlete in obviously prime condition. So I don't know what to think on that. But here's some of the speculation. So I'm going to just go through this Twitter feed here. Good morning. Now what? What's happening? Good morning. Lies have a way of causing a lot of consternation. Both are not so clever liar, and everyone who knows that these bitches are not so clever liars. Well, we're going to find out. Also, good morning, Black Hebrew Israelite.
That's right.
Nice to see you. All right. So anyway, a couple great things that have happened during this very frightening event. One, sports fans have now raised over $3.5 million for Damar Hamlin's charity, with over 142,000 individuals donating. So obviously his bills and things like that probably would be covered in this. But people have been drawn to his charity and have raised a lot of money for that. Now, when we get to this, though, and I'm going to just continue to go down this list of people who speculate, and hopefully I don't have any issues with scrolling through Twitter porn. But anyway, so here it is. So some of the questions people are asking. Why? Hello, Simon Wolf went on this. Oh, he's already there. Why is the left pushing for the public not to see the footage of Damar Hamlin and shaming people to prevent an honest discussion, pretending it's normal that the number of healthy young individuals to experience cardiac arrest and many die suddenly? So bringing up this issue, you can see this here. We'll just go. It looks like a GIF here. Let's put this on here. Cases of hashtag died suddenly. And why is this having trouble here? Hang on.
Is brought to you by Pfizer.
CBS Health Watch, sponsored by Pfizer. Anderson Cooper 360.
Brought to you by Pfizer. ABC News Nightline. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Making a difference. Brought to you by Pfizer.
CNN Tonight. Brought to you by Pfizer. Early Start. Brought to you by Pfizer. Friday night on Aaron Burnett Out Front. Brought to you by Pfizer. This Week with George Stephanopoulos is brought to you by Pfizer.
It's not something that has not been happening
Royal Wedding
in the sports world.
Pfizer.
And now a CBS Sports Update brought to you by Pfizer.
Meet the Press Data Download. Brought to you by Pfizer.
This portion of CBS This Morning sponsored by Pfizer.
Sudden death
On how
syndrome.
to find the hidden sugars in the American
Athletes.
family diet. Sponsored by Pfizer.
So this goes on and on and on. So I don't know why this is so. And the hit that happened, it wasn't even that a high impact. I mean, it's a high impact hit, but it's a shoulder pad into the, not even directly the chest. Almost always happens with a baseball hitting the chest, or a hard object hitting a young player in that chest. So again, they also mentioned Krasenstein's conspiracy theory tweet here. And then finally, Damar Hamlin showing love to his family on the sideline. This is the clip we should share, not the incident. And I agree. I didn't realize they had the clip there in it. But Gad said it's truly irresponsible for people to use Damar Hamlin's situation to bolster the anti-vax position. Be decent, be intellectually honest. Not everything is about ideological tribalism. That's Gad said. It's insane that people are saying Damar Hamlin's cardiac arrest was caused from a vaccine. He got a brute force shoulder right to the heart. Sure, it was a routine tackle, but it happened to time perfectly with his heart's T-wave. That's also speculation. I'd rather just have the doctors. I'd rather have the doctors tell us what happened. And I'm sure regardless what happened, they're probably going to tell us that, it was, well, I guarantee they're not going to tell us anything that has to do with vaccines, which, and I don't care if they do right now. Right now, I just like to see young Mr. Hamlin come through this, and hopefully he'll be okay. But the idea that fans have raised over $3.5 million for his foundation is fantastic. Interesting. They're just some of the pictures. There's a picture of Joe Burrow and Josh Allen having a chat after the event. And that's, I don't know, that's rather poignant, I guess. So now here's a Dr. Brian Sutter, MD, explains the cause of Hamlin's cardiac arrest. What happened to Damar Hamlin is no relation to any vaccine. It's most likely a rare condition called commotio cordis, which can be life-threatening. Now, this is a doctor saying this, but guess what? Has this doctor examined Damar Hamlin? I don't like it when doctors make diagnoses from watching photos, but this is a possible
What we just witnessed tonight is one of the most rare things we can see in sports medicine, as Damar Hamlin went down with what appeared to be cardiac arrest after taking this hit on the field. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Dr. Brian Suter, and on this channel I try to teach you about the sports medicine world and give you some insight into what we see on the field. What we saw happen tonight is not related to any sort of vaccines. This is almost certainly something called commotio cordis, an extremely rare condition that's one of those things that we typically only think we're going to read about in textbooks. Essentially what can happen is if you have a blunt trauma to the chest that occurs at exactly the right time in the cardiac electrical cycle, your heart can be sent into cardiac arrest.
Let's roll this back, because he's saying a blunt trauma to the chest. What's interesting, most cases of happen when the ball hits someone directly center of the chest. This doesn't even seem to be a shoulder pad hitting a shoulder pad.
Trauma to the chest that occurs at exactly the right time in the cardiac.
The hit wasn't even necessarily in the chest. That's the other thing about it. I've been watching this over and over and over this morning, and I don't know. Anyway, here's the explanation what that is.
Electrical cycle.
Hello, infamous one.
Your heart can be sent into cardiac arrest. As Hamlin comes in here, we can see this square hit to the front of his chest. We see him get back up momentarily before ultimately collapsing back down to the ground and requiring CPR.
Now, I wonder, as I watch this too, on this hit, his head hits the ground really hard after this tackle. And I wonder if there's something that is related to that too. I don't know if it caused cardiac arrest, but he certainly took a headshot to the turf after the tackle too. But anyway,
are on the field. This is a tracing of our heart's electrical activity. Basically, this is one cycle of the heart squeezing. Starts off with this P wave, which is the electrical activity of the atrium at the top of the heart squeezing. Then the QRS.
Yeah, there was no helmet to the chest. The helmet hit the helmet was I've watched this so many times. The receiver's shoulder pad hits under here. The helmet actually hits on the top. It didn't. There was no helmet to the chest in this. Good morning, Siri Wright. Syria Wright. Welcome to the show. So I've watched it multiple times. But you know what? I'm not. Believe me, I'm not necessarily discounting this explanation too. I don't know where, the cases I've seen have usually been a baseball coming back at a young kid pitcher and hitting them right in the chest, or hockey pucks. I didn't know it happens in lacrosse. I'm sure it could. But again, all of the cases that they've seen of this have been ages 8 to 18. Between 8 and 18, young kids. But it certainly, I will not discount this explanation, but it just doesn't seem like the hit was the type that you usually see when this happens.
Complex, which is going to be the ventricles acting. But then the last phase is this T wave, where the ventricle basically depolarizes and kind of resets to get ready for the next cycle. For commotio cordis to happen, you have to suffer this blunt trauma to the chest at exactly the right moment, specifically on this upstroke of the T wave, in order for the heart to then be sent into this arrhythmia and subsequent cardiac arrest. This is one of those things that not only do you have to have a high enough force, but it has to happen within milliseconds of a time window, because if that impact comes at any other time in this electrical cycle, you're fine. You don't go into this. But
so, and the other part of this is, this has never happened in football before. And not that it can't happen in football, but, and I don't know, and that includes helmet shots to the chest. So I don't know. It was, it looked far less serious than the Vikings guy who got WWE'd against Packers. Yeah, well, that was wild too. Anyway, I'm going to finish this explanation.
When it happens at just this right time during this upstroke of the T wave, and if it's high enough, then you can have this thing called commotio cordis. We typically think of it happening in baseball players whenever they get hit in the middle of the chest with a hard thrown ball, but unfortunately that looks like what is most likely to have happened here with Hamlin. Treatment like this is obviously CPR and defibrillation as quickly as possible, because this can absolutely be a life-threatening thing. Again, this is not something that people should go speculate about vaccines or anything like that causing this cardiac arrest.
It's funny, Claw shot strikes again. Well, yeah, high street Sithmill. I'm not convinced of any explanation right now. And fortunately, Mr. Hamlin did I say his name right? Hasn't passed away. He's still in critical condition. It's because the shoulder pads come down over the upper part of the chest. Yeah. So
there was a clear contact, a clear trauma, and I think a clear reason why, unfortunately, this happened for Hamlin.
It's funny though. Here's a doctor making a diagnosis from watching something on TV. I'm concerned about that too. I don't think doctors should do that. But since everyone else is speculating, at least that is a possible explanation for what happened. Okay. Real quick in the chat, thank you, Chicago Mike, for sponsoring the show, dropping a 5 spot in the tip jar via YouTube super chat. Says, Marty, have you ever heard of a player named Chuck Hughes? I left a link. Oh, you did. Well, let me find that. Where did you leave the? Oh, is that in the in my messages here? Let me check here. Wait, what is this? Oh, no, that's Bill Mastron. Okay. Oh, someone sent me there too. Let's see. Is the link in the? There we go. Thank you. Let's check this out. Okay, here you go. Oh, Chuck Hughes. Okay. No, I this is I vaguely remember this. So here it is. Here's a story about Chuck Hughes. The day Chuck Hughes died, remember, the only NFL player to die in a game. The pass on 3rd and 1 sails incomplete as the clock ticks down in the fourth quarter. He had lined up on the right side of the formation as the Lions, trailing 28-23, try to mount a comeback against the rival Bears. He races downfield in a post pattern, but Greg Landry's pass intended for tight end Charlie Sanders sails incomplete. The second-string wide receiver, who'd always been told he was too small to play, turns and begins trotting back to the huddle, as he had so many times in his high school football and college in Texas, and eventually, yes, the National Football League. He never makes it. I was watching him, Joe Falls would write in the Sporting News. Why? I don't know. Still on the Bears' side of the field, the player pitches forward awkwardly, falling face down, arms at his side. Chuck Hughes, 28, is dead. It's October 4th, 24th, 1971, 50 years ago this Sunday. This is obviously written in a different time. Across more than 100 years of league play, he remains the only NFL player to die during a game. Moments earlier, Hughes, only in the game because of an injury to starter Larry Walton, had caught a 32-yard pass from Landry for a first down. He was sandwiched by Bears defenders Bob Jeter and Gary Lyle on a hard tackle right after the reception, but got up, adjusted his helmet, and headed back to the Lions huddle. It was his only catch of the day. He only had 3 more plays to live, Falls wrote. Black and white image frozen in time can be colorized to the mind's eye. The Lions' Honolulu blue home jersey and silver helmet and pants. The Bears' white over white with navy helmet worn by Dick Butkus, hands on his hips. The grass at Tiger Stadium probably isn't as brilliant green in October as it might have been earlier in the summer. For baseball, Al Kaline, Norm Cash, and Big Gates Brown. The image doesn't convey the way Butkus eventually would wave frantically to try to summon help. In the photo, the gravity of the situation just now appears to be sinking in on the official, who stand over the only person in the frame who was truly motionless when the picture was snapped. Somebody better get out of here, Falls recalled someone murmuring in the press box. It's odd, but very human how time easily measured in neat seconds and minutes becomes so relative, so stretched under certain circumstances. It seemed so terribly long for anyone to get to him, Jeter would say later. Doctors and trainers from both sidelines converged on Hughes. An anesthesiologist in the stands reportedly came down on the field to offer help. One doctor with his back to the press box appeared to be leaning very close to Hughes, apparently giving him mouth-to-mouth. Falls felt a chill. Now another doctor began pounding Hughes' chest with his fist and hushed the crowd. As a hushed crowd looked on, even a typically bustling game day press box fell quiet. Soon the wail of an ambulance from Henry Ford Hospital could be heard. The doctor's efforts, described in the Sporting News, were futile. It took until 50 minutes after the game for doctors to declare him dead from a heart attack caused by blood clots. But years later, Hughes' wife Sharon said she knew when she was with him on the field. She knew that Falls, admittedly shaken, and others in attendance would most surely knew almost an hour earlier. Yahoo Sports' riveting 2013 account of the day included these chilling words about Sharon Hughes, the newly minted widow. Quote, at 5:41 p.m., 3 hours after the start of the game, they were telling her what she already understood. Her husband was gone, and then came the bitter reality of informing the world that the receiver, who had just caught a 32-yard pass in a game that was televised through much of the Midwest, was dead. Wrote Falls, I saw the man die before my eyes. The following week, the Sporting News NFC Central correspondent Jerry Green reported that the Lions had scheduled a team party for the night after the Bears game. Chuck was looking forward to the party, linebacker Mike Lucci said. The players felt would be a fine night for the 40 of them to get together for an evening of camaraderie and fun. Instead, Green wrote, the Lions attended a private rosary. So, wow. I was just a tiny little kid then. It's like, 7 years old maybe? I don't know how old I was then. What year was this? 1971? Yeah, I was 7 years old. So anyway, if you're of the praying sort, say a prayer for Damar Hamlin. That's what I would say, and let people who know what they're doing talk about what happened to him. Let's see. This is one of his teammates. It says, I'm struggling to find the words to tell you how emotional it was on the field, especially the Bills sideline tonight. The tears that poured from players and coaches' faces, grown men we often see as larger and tougher than life, crying, embracing each other. Damar's mom came down by the wall behind the bench as he was on the field. She said she wanted to be with her son. There was no entrance to the field where she was. Stadium security and Bill's staff did a great job to get her to a spot where she could get down as quickly as possible. And then multiple teams sending out thoughts and prayers for Damar Hamlin. Just the NFL put up some tweets and whatnot. Blue lights at Paycor for Damar Hamlin and the Bills family in Cincinnati. They threw out the blue lights after they cleared the field. And you can find more about him on the internet. So let's see. I'm sorry. I should probably be in the chat here a little bit. They're so quick to push out a response to discussion unnaturally. Yeah, the doctor is so quick to say this had nothing to do with vaccines. Well, we don't know what it has to do with. I watched the hit over and over. It's just like when I've watched the videos of the soccer players who've been falling in the middle of a game. They were doing something vigorous, and all of a sudden they stand up and they're down. I guess we'll find out. Eventually. And I don't mean immediately. Anyone should be able to speculate without the government or medicine being so quick to shut down discussion. This shit isn't normal anymore. No, it's not normal. That's thank you, Invus One. It's amazing how they quickly come out with it's definitely not the vax causing the problem. Well, like I said, I don't know who that doctor is, if he's related to anyone in government or anyone in particular, but it's fascinating that, like you said, it's fascinating that he's already immediately coming out with the statement, oh, no, it's not about that. Not about that. Let me see if I can find more. If there's any latest news. Wait, Bill Masterson, what's this? Oh, this is Bill Masterson, the North Stars, died during a hockey game. Masterson suffered a severe, intense brain injury during the first period of Minnesota's January 13th, 1968 game against the Oakland Seals at the Met Center. He carried the puck up the ice at full speed, passing it off as two Seals defenders, Larry Cahan and Ron Harris, converged on him. Masterson was knocked backwards and the resulting collision and landed on his head. Like most players of his era, he was not wearing a helmet. Yeah, that was Minnesota in the old Met Center in Bloomington, Minnesota. All doctors I've seen in the aftermath who know more than you or I seem to think it's definitely not vaccine related. Well, right. I'm sure that that's the case. But also, right now, most doctors that you listen to say none of these very unusual sudden deaths are vaccine related. So I'm we got to decide what's different about, 3 years ago than now that we're having these sudden deaths of people. But again, I'm not speculating in this case either. There are all sorts of possibilities. Most doctors are going to say that because it's a sports injury, and that's what they know. Most doctors don't know what's going on with the vaccines and don't pay attention to the VAERS reports at all. So I'm Mike, I'm going to give you that one. You think what you think, and I think everyone should think what they think, and maybe, but wait just a little bit, maybe too. So anyway, good morning, unacceptable views. Good to see you. All right, I've spent more time on that than I really wanted to. Let's move on to other topics. Here's an interesting one. Let's go back. We were talking, why does this keep popping up here? I don't want this here. I want it over there, and it won't go away. All right, let's get into just a few headlines that are happening. Apparently, we talked a little bit about the January 6th committee yesterday as they've been shutting down. Apparently, a January 6th panel alerts the White House about anonymous witnesses. Now, I'm not sure what this is about. In one of its final acts, the House January 6th committee warned the White House it cannot ensure the confidentiality of certain witnesses. Chairman Bernie Thompson and Vice Chairman Liz Cheney. Wait, when did they send this? Because she's out. January 2nd. Isn't she gone yet? Okay. They saying they fully share a concern for the safety, security, and reputations of its witnesses as the panel dissolves and the Republicans take control of the House this week. Why? If they're good witnesses, they shouldn't worry about anything. Hello, Murray J, by the way, and Cryptic's in the house. By the way, thank you, Cryptic, for sponsoring the show. Appreciate it. Cryptic says, useless sports fact. The North Stars merged with the Cleveland Barons, who came from California. Later, they moved to become the Dallas Stars. Yes, I remember. I lived here when the North Stars were still here. And that was a big deal that the state of hockey loses its professional hockey teams to frickin' Dallas. Who plays hockey in Dallas? Who even knows what hockey is in Dallas? That's when we started seeing all these, the National Hockey League expanding into places like Tampa Bay, San Jose, Dallas. What's the other one? There's another. Is there one in Knoxville? Or no, there's one in Tennessee. What's the hockey team in Tennessee? I'm like, what the hell? Who plays hockey in any of those places? Minnesota makes sense. Places all over Canada makes sense. Detroit makes sense. Chicago makes sense. Buffalo makes sense. New York makes sense. There's snow in all these places. Why are we having hockey in places that don't even have snow? I just think it's silly. Anaheim. Yeah, Anaheim. And now isn't there a hockey team in Las Vegas now? There's a hockey team in the freaking desert. Oh, yeah, the Nashville Predators. Hey, I have some shirts from the Nashville Predators. And if anyone wants to buy a Nashville Predator shirt, I have some. Yeah, I mean, what the hell? Who plays hockey in the desert? Anyway. All right, back to this article. Well, New Jersey makes sense. Toronto, well, anywhere in Canada makes sense. By the way, I've been to the Hockey Hall of Fame in Hibbing? No, not Eveleth, Minnesota. The National Hockey Hall of Fame is in Eveleth, Minnesota. Anyway, all right. So anyway, this so they're worried about the witnesses' concern for safety and security of the reputation. Okay, let me just ask you something. And this is a serious question. Maybe Mike can answer this question. They've been hyping January 6th since January 6th, 2021, right? The insurrection, right? And they're all worried about, this is going to be some follow-up shit and this and that and yada, yada, yada. Has there been anything even relatable to January 6th since? It was a one-time deal. But they're milking this for forever. The letter dated December 30th says the committee entered into an agreement with Sauber's office to make available personnel, quote unquote, who then provided important information to the panel. Any other identifying information is redacted in the public version of the letter. Under their agreement, the committee would do its utmost to protect identities, but as of the first week of January 2023, the panel will no longer exercise control of this material and thus cannot ensure enforcement of the commitment to maintain the confidentiality identity of the witness. Look, I don't care about why these witnesses need to be confidential. I don't know. But here's what I think should happen. I think they should reconvene the January 6th committee in a way that actually shows some of the exculpatory evidence for some of the people who are still in jail waiting to be tried. And also, there's a lot of video that just hasn't been shown. I'm sure there's some interesting video that just shows, like, for example, because I watched this unfold on the internet, because just watching feeds of what was happening around there. And I'm like, oh, this is not going to be good. This is not going to turn out well for anybody. But there certainly is plenty of videos showing people being just come on in kind of things, right? Come on down, come on. This is where the barriers were, but they're gone. Y'all come this way. Yeah, come on over this way by police officers. And then a couple of entrances, there's video of them, saying, hey, you can, we're going to let you in if you promise to be nice and this and that and yada, yada, yada. And they're like, okay, we'll do that. And then they just like, okay, come on in. Okay, there's pictures. There was officers taking selfies with people. And so I'm just wondering where all that other footage. We all see the flashbang picture, the one where they had the, what do you call that? The one picture, where that big picture of the Capitol building, there's that one flashbang, so it looks like everything's on fire, when in reality it was a flashbang. It was they caught it right as it flashed, and then that was over. And I'm just wondering, when are they going to start showing some of this other stuff? And maybe the new Republican majority in the House will maybe bring up some of the stuff that they refused to bring up during the January 6th committee hearings. Like, for example, why the security wasn't so robust, even though supposedly there was some FBI agents that were embedded with some of these groups, and in fact, possibly embedded during January 6th, but they didn't know that they should have some more security. Nancy Pelosi lightened the security. There's some emails about that just came out recently. And there's also some testimony about that just came out recently. And the transcripts of all these depositions, they said they were going to release all that, and they're starting to. For example, they released some of the transcripts of Ray Epps' deposition, and I still haven't figured out why they're protecting Ray Epps. Anybody got an idea why they might be protecting Ray Epps? I don't know, but it's weird. So anyway, thank you, Chicago Mike. Another nice tip in the tip jar. I appreciate that. By the way, if you want to sponsor the show, okay, I'll come back to that. Mike says January 6th was worse than the War of 1812, where the British set the Capitol and the White House on fire. Yes, it is the worst. It is the worst event in the history of history. Skip to trans now. What? I don't know what that means. Oh, yeah. Nancy had a camera crew filming like it was planned. Yeah, it's just so weird. And then, okay, what? The Republicans have any balls? LOL. Yeah, this is true. Honey, they are in on it too. Uniparty, say it with me. Government versus the citizens. That's all we get now. Well, I get that feeling sometimes, especially the way the Senate Finance Committee acted during the last election. But anyway, all right. So anyway, there on this article, after a year and a half of investigating efforts to challenge the 2020 results and the Capitol riot, the January 6th committee last month released its final report recommending charges against former President Donald Trump and released dozens of witness materials. The panel posted the vast majority of its witnesses' transcripts online per Thompson and Cheney, which means they posted some highly redacted depositions. On Tuesday, the members of the House will gather to vote on the next speaker, a House Minority Leader. Okay, we'll just skip that. Anyway, so the former committee, which is kaput, is really worried about protecting some of the witnesses. And I don't know why. I mean, they're doing their patriotic duty. Aren't these people who were witnesses patriots doing their patriotic duty in our democracy? Because that's the big word they like to use. All right. Moving on. Let's see. Oh, Did anyone see this 60 Minutes piece with this jackhole? 60 Minutes exhumes in viral cult leader for a new round of scaremongering. Now, the only reason I'm bringing this up, if you're not familiar with Paul Ehrlich is the guy who wrote a book in 1968 called The Population Bomb. Okay. And when I was in college, by the way, in 68, he was saying that the world would run out of food probably by about 1982, right? He said that the world's going to hell and everyone's going to die because we have too many people on the earth, right? Well, when I was in college, and I think in a class I took in 1984, our professor, that's funny because as I look back on it, I didn't realize how hard the professor was trying to indoctrinate us, because this was one of my speech communication courses, because I was a speech major by the time. Yeah, it was when I was a speech major, because I had changed majors by then. I started out as a music major, then I switched to speech, basically not communications like, college football players take that case. My course was on rhetoric, speech writing, things like that, and that became my major at the time. And one of the books assigned amongst about a dozen books we had to read that semester for that class, which were all, as I look back, were all these left-wing screeds. One of them was The Population Bomb, right? And it was a book about how, the fact that the world population is growing so quickly and so vast that we're never going to be able to feed all these people, and everyone's going to die, and everyone's, I think by 1983, the prediction was by 1994, the world would not be able to sustain the population. And that was, now look, there's a point where the population trails in every area trails off. But anyway, so here's this. They brought him out on 60 Minutes, and I'm like, wait a minute. I read this asshole's book back in 1984, and I'm like, we're not dead yet. We were supposed to be dead by 1994, or run out of food before the end of the millennia, and we didn't, and we're still not. But anyway, so now this is Paul's here. Earth is headed for a sixth extinction, warned biologist Paul Ehrlich on 60 Minutes this Sunday. And since Ehrlich has predicted about 20 extinctions over the past 60 years, he's the leading expert on the issue. Couldn't 60 Minutes find a fresh face yet to be discredited neo-Malthusian to hyperventilate about the end of the world? Why didn't producers invite a single guest to push back against theories that have been reliably debunked by reality? We're all still alive. This guy has said we're going to be all dead. A long time ago. Anyway, that's the only reason I brought this up. But there's a whole article on his stupid 60 Minutes appearance that I highly encourage you to read. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Let's see. What else do I have? Now, some people think this is good news and some people don't care. 23 states raised their minimum wage at the beginning of 2023. Minimum wage workers will receive a pay raise in 23 states this year due to minimum wage increases going into effect, according to the Associated Press. Wage increases went into effect on January 1st in Arizona, California, Colorado, Delaware, Illinois, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, New Jersey, New Mexico, Ohio, Rhode Island, South Dakota, Vermont, and Washington. Now, a lot of these states all have their own minimum wage. What's weird, so, for example, do they have Minnesota's on here? Let's see. Minnesota. It shows several states here. So, for example, the state of Washington, from $14.49 to $15.74 an hour. Highest rate of any state and more than twice the $7.25 federal rate. State also requires job postings to have salary disclosures, blah, blah, blah. California raised minimum wage to $5.50 an hour. The second highest of any state, as part of a 2017 state law to gradually raise the state's $10 minimum wage. Nebraska's minimum wage went from $9 to $10.50 an hour due to a November ballot measure. The state's minimum wage will gradually increase to $15 an hour by 2026. Maryland's minimum wage went from $12.50 to $13.25. Virginia from $11 to $12. Connecticut will go into effect June. Nevada's begins July 1st. Florida's September 30th. Anyway, and the federal minimum wage is still $7.25. Now, what's fascinating about this, living in Minnesota, and I talk about this all the time. So I don't know what the minimum wage in Minnesota is going up to, but it was $10 an hour. Okay. Now, what's fascinating about that, if you look in ads for jobs around the state of Minnesota, and I mean almost the entire state, there are no places that are paying $10 an hour. I've looked. In fact, I actually looked at this the other day. There's no jobs, at least jobs that, well, I don't know. There are no jobs that pay $10 an hour. The lowest wage I could find on jobs in Minnesota were at fast food places in particular. In my town, the lowest one I've seen is 13, but most are paying $16, $17 an hour. Warehouse jobs starting at $19, $20, $22 an hour. Unskilled warehouse jobs, between $19 and $22 an hour, starting pay. All those, even cleaning jobs, $13, $14 an hour, starting wage. Okay. I don't know if they need to raise the minimum wage here, but they did. They said they had a big fight about it. They did. And I'm imagining that this is true most everywhere you go, except for those states like California or Washington, where they might have some minimum wage jobs, right? They might have some because the minimum wage is already 15 something an hour, right? Except when I was in California 2 years ago, and I'll see if this is still the same when I go in February. In California, 2 years ago, we were walking down Fisherman's Wharf, and there was an In-N-Out Burger along Fisherman's Wharf in San Francisco. And 2 years ago, no, 3 years ago, it was 2019. 2019, that's 4 years ago, almost 4 years ago. Walking by an In-N-Out Burger, Fisherman's Wharf, they were advertising on their window, big old sign in the window, $19 an hour, starting pay $19 an hour at a fast food burger joint in California. So it's interesting that California is raising their minimum wage to $15.50 an hour, because there's at least some fast food restaurant. Now, granted, it was one In-N-Out Burger in San Francisco, and probably the highest rent district in San Francisco to probably run a business, but it still is paying $19 an hour at In-N-Out Burger. And In-N-Out treats its employees well. Do they? I don't know. I don't know. Anyway. Oh, Tyler F., by the way, Lord Stanhope, Woodcutter, nice to see y'all. Maddie's in the house. All right. So anyway, I just think it's fascinating. All these states, I don't know that. Now look, and by the way, I don't know if you saw the McDonald's. There's a fully automated McDonald's in Texas now. Now, when they say fully automated, I'm not sure. Like, there's got to be someone there making sure the machinery runs right. But the drive-through had like this conveyor belt that brings food to people, and you have kiosks where you punch in what you want to order, and even some of the food production is automated. It says fully automated, so basically the McDonald's, it's like a giant vending machine. And I got a feeling if they keep look, they say, oh, well, that's because corporate greed, blah, blah, blah. But I got a feeling that, a lot of places would be like, it might be cheaper just to run this automated McDonald's than to have employees, because employees can be a pain in the ass sometimes. So I don't know. Is there an obligation for those companies to keep hiring people, or should they just go automated? I don't know. Big Dro, what's happening? I don't know if I said hi earlier or not. I'm saying it now. I've been seeing a lot of self-ordering kiosks. Yeah, like the Taco Bell near here, which I stopped going to Taco Bell, but the last time I was there, it was a self-ordering kiosk. You had a touch screen, you order your food, and then you put your name in, and they call your name, and you go get your food. They at least still had people handing you the food. Let's be honest, what's better than making $50 an hour or getting the equivalent of $15 on welfare? Yeah, I don't know. Anyway. I much prefer Taco John's, by the way. I don't know if you have Taco John's where you live, but their potato olays are just delicious. They're my favorites, okay? All right, fried suddenly. Rap's attorney is a former FBI agent. Yeah, I saw that. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? That guy's an op. I'm telling you, he is such an op, and that's why they're trying to protect him. I do have another article on Damar Hamlin. I'm not going to go into this. I'm going to just move it. I found the one that I was looking for before. I'll put this near the other one so you guys can find it easy. I'm not going to talk about Damar Hamilton anymore. What is this? Oh, and I did put a link to Bill Master and also the article about Chuck Hughes, who died in an NFL game. The only person to die during an NFL game. All right. What else do I got? Oh, by the way, Elon Musk, the new owner of Twitter, has a new distinction. Elon Musk is the first person ever to lose $200 billion. Oh, gosh. Taco John's. Okay, so Taco John's is this chain kind of in the Midwest mostly. And they used to, did anyone remember like Photomat? I don't know if you had Photomat, but they, these little tiny booths where you could bring you bring your film to, and they'd process your film and you'd get your photos and whatever. Well, Taco John's had these little tiny stores that were like just a little bit bigger than a Photomat, right? And all it was, they had your cook space and then just a little place where you could walk in, kind of like almost like a Dairy Queen used to be, where you kind of basically had a walk-up window. And you'd order your food, and then you get your food, and there was no place to eat there. You had to take it with you, right? And but now their taco meat is so much better than Taco Bell's. Because beef tastes better than horse. But yeah, they usually have a salsa bar and whatever. They have really they're so much better than Taco Bell. Anyway. Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla and new owner of Twitter, started 2022 as the world's richest man, but has since become the first person in history to lose $200 billion in personal wealth. Bloomberg reports that Elon Musk has become the first person. Okay, they repeated the sentence 3 times. It's in the headline, it's in the first line, and now it's in the first line of the article. But he still remains the world's second richest person, even as his investments have drastically decreased in value. His net worth reached a record high in 2021 as Tesla's stock experienced significant growth. Much of Musk's personal fortune is tied to his ownership and founding of various businesses, including Tesla and SpaceX. The technology industry saw a boost in stock prices during the coronavirus pandemic. And Tesla's shares reached all-time highs, leading to Musk becoming the first person to achieve a personal net worth of over $300 billion with a B. But again, that doesn't mean he has $300 billion in the bank like some people like to think. It just means his investments were worth that much. Well, however, beginning in 2022, as it saw the recovery of other industries, causing a decrease in Tesla's valuation. Tesla's market valuation reached over $1 trillion in October 2021, making it one of only a few companies ever to achieve this milestone, along tech giants such as Apple, Microsoft, and Amazon. But the company's share price has suffered massive declines starting in November 2021. What does that coincide with? Does that coincide with him buying Twitter? Anyway, let's see. Breitbart News recently reported that despite a 3.3% increase to 112.71 on Wednesday, Tesla stock prices declined by approximately 68% for the year. In December alone, the stock dropped by 42% and is on track to end the month, quarter, and year with its worst performance on record. These declining stock prices have likely contributed to the concerns expressed by Musk in his email to his employees. So anyway, because of the stock price of Tesla, mostly he's lost $200 billion in personal wealth. I think he'll be okay either way. He still owns Tesla and SpaceX and Twitter, and he'll figure it out. I think he'll be all right. Does anyone worry about Elon Musk not being okay? I certainly don't. All right, we'll move this over here. That's more on the dude. Oh, speaking of Twitter, during the I'm technically out of time, but I'm going to keep going for a little bit here. Speaking of Twitter. You know how a lot of the former ruling class, I would call them at Twitter, some of the journalists and the high-profile Twitter account users, mostly lefty Democrats and, Democrat influencers and left-wing people and, like I said, the ruling class at Twitter. A lot of the ruling class at Twitter has been, I'm going to leave Twitter. I'm going to go do something else. They're opening up Mastodon accounts and post accounts and whatever. Well, there's an interesting phenomenon about Mastodon. Now, Mastodon's like almost a completely blockchain type social media thing. Like they don't have, when you go to Mastodon, you don't have as much control over who sees you and who doesn't see you, right? The urinalists, what the fuck? Anyway, so a lot of these people have been going over to Mastodon, right? Well, there's an interesting fact about Mastodon that apparently the people at the Post Millennial have figured out. That is interesting about Mastodon. A majority of the content on Twitter competitor Mastodon is you'll have to read that for yourself because I don't even want to say it out loud on YouTube. See that? It's the sexual something other of young people's investigation conducted by SecJuice. That's an unfortunate name, SecJuice. Anyway, has revealed that some of the largest communities within the social media platform Mastodon are communities containing illegal exploitation of young peoples. I'm going to use euphemisms for the rest of the time. Mastodon first experienced a flood of that type of video monstrosity being posted in its communities in 2017. And by 2022, the two largest communities of this type of crap were second and third on the leaderboards. Only one Mastodon.social having more users. Mastodon was only a year old on April 4th, 2017, when they experienced a surge in new users. This saw the platform grow from 160,000 to about 300,000. The two communities that contained the exploitation content became the first and second largest communities in the Fediverse, is what they call it, or a network of interconnected servers and websites based on decentralized networking protocols. These communities overtook the platform's Mastodon.cloud and Mastodon.social communities. In 2022, these were the two most active communities by a large margin in terms of total postings, ranking first and second. There's some sick motherfuckers in this world. You know what I mean? So anyway, all of these people jumping over to Mastodon are going into a bastion of child, whatchamacallit, that I don't want to say out loud. I'm sure they're excited to know that now. Moving on, we talked the other day, or was it yesterday or the day before yesterday, about the machete attack in New York City. New York City, get a rope. Well, I guess I'm just going to give you the news here. The suspect in the NYPD machete attack has been charged with attempted murder. Officials reveal more on the alleged radical Islamic views. The teenager suspected of attacking 3 New York City police officers with a machete. What the hell do you need a machete in New York City for? On New Year's Eve has been charged with attempted murder, police said on Monday. According to authorities, the 19-year-old from Wells, Maine, attacked 3 New York City police officers near Times Square on Saturday at roughly 10:11 p.m., attempting to strike one before hitting 2 other officers in the head with the weapon. The suspect has been charged with 2 counts of attempted murder and 2 counts of attempted assault, NBC New York reported. The suspect was reportedly placed on an FBI terror watch list recently. Oh, shocker. Shocker. Someone on a terror watch list did something bad? That never happens. Anyway, after his aunt claimed he had been radicalized online and expressed a desire to fight overseas for Islamic extremists, he allegedly made pro-jihadi statements from his hospital bed and had writings on his backpack that contain Islamic extremist propaganda. But you know what? They're still not as bad as, the right-wing terrorists that are proliferating across America these days. So just let you know. So anyway, good. He's going to be charged with murder. That's the way it should be. That's just the way it is. But DA will let him out with no bail in New York City because that's what they do. Anyway, moving on. Oh, you know what? Speaking of cash bail, looks like at least the courts in Illinois seem to have a sense of propriety and sanity. The Illinois Supreme Court temporarily suspends provision eliminating cash bail. The Circuit Court of the 21st Judicial Circuit of Kankakee County found the provision unconstitutional after state's attorneys in 65 Illinois counties challenged the new law. Now what's the name of that law? Anyway, the Illinois Supreme Court temporarily suspended the Pretrial Fairness Act in the SAFE-T Act, which would eliminate cash bail. The emergency motion for supervisory order is allowed, wrote the court, in order to maintain consistent pretrial procedures throughout Illinois. The effective date of the Pretrial Fairness Act, which is the no bail part of it, is stayed during the pendency of the appeal, which the law is being appealed, until the further order of this court. The Circuit Court of the 21st Judicial Court of Kankakee County found the provision unconstitutional after state's attorneys in 65 Illinois counties challenged the new law. The court concluded, quote, because as the Illinois Supreme Court has determined, the administration of the justice system is in an inherent power of the courts upon which the legislature may not infringe, and the setting of bail falls within that administrative power. The appropriateness of bail rests with the authority of the court and may not be determined by legislative fiat. Therefore, the courts find that the Public Acts 101-652 and 102-1104, as they relate to any pretrial releases or pretrial release provision, do violate the separation of powers principle underlying in our system of governance by depriving the courts of their inherent authority to administer and control their courtrooms and to set bail. El Rad Supra, whatever that means. Now that's interesting. The courts are saying that bail is the purview of the court and not the legislature. That's interesting. The Illinois Attorney General's office appealed the court's decision directly into the Illinois Supreme Court. Kane and DuPage County states attorneys asked the Illinois Supreme Court to delay the provision amid confusion over how a dividend state would work. The Illinois Supreme Court will hear an appeal from Attorney General Kwame Raoul, but did not give a date. Now that's a fascinating ruling there. So it's weird that they're saying that the legislature cannot make laws regarding bail because that's the purview of the court. That's an interesting ruling. Wow. That's an interesting ruling. All right. Well, I'm cool with ending cash bail. We can just take your feet. We will reattach them after you show up to trial. We promise. Wow. All right. I got a couple more and then we're going to get out of here. Liberal prosecutors and feel. Oh, This is an Experts Say article. I'm just going to put it in the tabs. I'm not going to read it, but liberal prosecutors help fuel crime surges in some American cities, experts say. You know what I say? Duh. Here's the highlights. Crime surges impacted New York City, Chicago, Philadelphia, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Nolens in 2022 based on law enforcement data. Experts partially blame liberal prosecutors who did not pursue charges in many criminal cases. And crime overall has been increasing in cities like New York and Chicago, in part because of decreases in policing, prosecution, and incarceration. The Manhattan Institute's fellow Hannah Myers told the Daily Caller News Foundation. Now, at least in this case where they use the word experts, they name the expert, or at least one of them. So, is anyone shocked by any of those, just the highlights of that article? Because you can read the whole thing later, but that's the highlights. Crime overall has been increasing in cities like New York and Chicago, in part because of decreases in policing, prosecution, and incarceration. Well, that's just, is there a song, Logical? Something logical. Like I said, duh. All those Soros-backed district attorneys and states attorneys and states attorney generals and shit, they're fucking shit up. I'm just saying. All right. I'm taking that one out. Oh, here's another question that needs to be answered. If Fauci was so important, why is his former position at the National something AID vacant? Dr. Anthony Fauci served as the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases since 1984, and his last day was December 31st, 2022. But they haven't filled his position yet. Fauci leaves behind a controversial legacy. Over the past year and a half, we've learned that he lied about funding gain-of-function research in Wuhan and that he had been told COVID-19 was potentially engineered, even though he insisted for over a year that it came from nature. Fauci did not shy away from the media, even when we learned about his disgusting and medically unnecessary experiments on puppies. But who's replacing the man that equated himself to science? They haven't. Have you heard of anyone being appointed or moving up in the ranks? I haven't either. According to the NIAID website, Fauci is still the director. Obviously, that means little, but the NIAID announced in November that they were accepting applications through January 17, 2023 for the position. Now, then the question is, does that seem odd to you? Because we know Fauci was leaving, right? But they haven't replaced it. Isn't that the most important position in the planet right now? It's a good question. That's a good question. I don't know. Maybe he's not all that important after all. All right. Okay, the Fauci files are coming soon. We'll skip that. Katie Hobbs was sworn in as governor of Arizona. I'll leave an article up. But also, during that swearing in, now this is interesting. So Katie Hobbs was sworn in as the governor of Arizona, but she forbidden reporters when sworn in. Katie Hobbs barred reporters from being in attendance to cover her inauguration as governor of Arizona on Monday. The Democrats' team allowed only a single photographer from the Associated Press into the room at the state capitol, while directing others instead to watch the event via live stream, according to a local reporter, Stacy Barchenger. Media did set up outside the event, and nobody knows why. So, anyone from Arizona know why she wouldn't want people seeing her being inaugurated or having the press there? I don't know. All right, and then the last article. Now, this is interesting because we've been hearing about the rise in hate crimes and violence, whatever. And so the FBI says violence against Jews is in decline from what period? From last year when it was rising? Because I could have sworn that was W.R. Costin. Holy smokes! Nice to see ya. Watchdog group calls for Congress to investigate whether the FBI is deflating hate crime stats. FBI's latest annual report shows a decline of violence against Jews, findings that are at odds with Jewish watchdog groups who say anti-Semitic hate crimes have hit their highest levels in history during the past 2 years. Maybe the FBI doesn't have an office in Brooklyn. That could be. That might be the problem. The FBI's 2021 findings released at the end of last year have sparked accusations that the federal law enforcement agency is deflating these statistics at a time when the American Jewish community is facing an unprecedented wave of anti-Semitism. At least one watchdog group is calling on Congress to investigate how and why the FBI underreported anti-Jewish hate crimes. So here's something interesting, though, too. Hello, Brad Young. I saw something the other day, and I forgot to, I didn't get to it. It was one of those at the end of the list items that I don't get to sometimes. And it was showing demographics on the people who have committed hate crimes against the brethren, right? And it was, let's just say, the way they present it, the highest number of hate crimes against the brethren, right? You would think it was a bunch of, white supremacists, Nazis, neo-Nazi types, right? But that's not the case. First of all, because a lot of it happens in places like Brooklyn where the brothers and the brethren don't always get along, when the brothers are the ones doing some of the crimes, right? And most of the crimes committed by the brothers, then by the, there was the second most, but it was by, I don't know if it wasn't white people, maybe by Hispanics too. And then it was white people, then it was Asians. But it was just a weird, thing because maybe the FBI doesn't count hate crimes when they're by other minorities. That might be the thing. Maybe they don't count them as hate crimes when the violence is committed by minorities. They only count it when it's maybe the white supremacists. It's kind of like how they're always telling you, oh yes, the most violence incidents, most violent murders, extremist murders are committed by the white guys, the white supremacist types, right? But then they use data that shows none of those murders, that at least the ones they used in the samples, the examples, none of them were actually because they were committing a white supremacist hate crime murder. It was just that people who had a profile of the possible right-wing white supremacist or right-wing extremist, right? They happened to commit a murder, but it was like someone in their family or someone that they knew or someone their friend or someone they were buying a car from with the car money deal going bad. It had nothing to do with right-wing extremism. It's just that they labeled the person who committed the murder as a right-wing extremist, but the murder itself had nothing to do with right-wing extremism. Well, perhaps that's the case here when the FBI says, they're saying that, what do they say? What's the words here? The actual words. FBI violence against Jews is in decline. Maybe they just mean when it's certain demographics, they don't count it as violence against Jews. They count it as disputes or whatever. I don't know. But anyway, it's just weird. So I have to go. I'm way late now because I spent too much talking about that. What the hell did I do there? This stream's still going. Okay, good. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for being here at the Morning Night Live on this lovely Tuesday. I'm figuring out what day it was. That's right. Yesterday was Monday, but I didn't work yesterday because it was the fake New Year's. That's why I messed up. I couldn't remember how many. Well, never mind. Thank you for showing up today. Now, before you hit any buttons, before you click anything or swipe on your phone or whatever, there's a little discrepancy here. Okay, there's like 40 people here, but there's only 22 likes. So please, before you do anything, before you get tired of watching my outro and whatever, hit the like button before you go. Share the stream. I really need to start sharing the stream. I really need to grow this channel by thousands by February. February will be the 1,000th episode. I'd love to see 1,000 people watching the 1,000th episode. I'll work on that, okay? Share the stream. And if you want to sponsor the show, like Chicago Mike, like Cryptic, who else today? It was Chicago Mike and Cryptic Day. Thank you, Chicago Mike and Cryptic. Appreciate you. for sponsoring the show. You can do that through YouTube Super Chats during the show. You can do it at pdognight.live during the show or 24 hours a day. You can go to pdognight.live and, anything, if you type a message, I will read it during the show. Or there's also Venmo Cash app options in the description down below. It'd be very helpful. We got a couple surgeries in my family where both B and Lady Boomer are going to have some time off of work, and they would be very helpful. Also, if you're watching on a replay, put a comment in the comment section. Anything that we talked about today. If you want to just put some comment in the comment section just for the hell of it, that'd be great too. However you want to do it. But and also on Rumble, hit the plussy. Pound that plussy, the little plus sign. That tells you that people were watching it and liked it. Or if you're watching on mobile on a Rumble, you can hit the little thumbs up thing. That would be fantastic. All right, that's enough. I got to go. Thanks for being here. My name's P-Dog Knight, and I am out of here. Bye-bye. Have a great day. Hey, this is P-Dog Knight, and thank you for watching today on the P-Dog Knight channel. If you have an observation or remark you'd like to make about this video or my channel, I absolutely welcome you to write it in the comment section down below. I really look forward to hearing from you. And before you go, if you like what you saw but you're not already subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and definitely click that bell that pops up afterwards so you'll be notified when I post new videos or when we go live. I broadcast my live show, The Morning Night Live, Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. A special thank you to all the supporters of this channel who share our videos on social media and who make donations through Streamlabs, YouTube, Venmo, and Cash App, which are all linked in the description down below. Thanks again, and until next time, I'm P-Dog Knight, and I'm out of here.